We've come to that stage of the tournament where one team A might be playing another team B, but it's a team C who are equally interested in what happens in this fixture. We're talking Chennai, we're talking Rajasthan, we're talking Lucknow, because so much at stake for at least two of those three teams that I just mentioned. A reminder of the match that lies ahead at the Brabourne Stadium. Match number 68. It's bright pink against bright yellow. Rajasthan taking on Chennai, and the significance of the result we will talk about very, very shortly. But first, let's meet our elite panel right here on Cricbuzz Live. Pommie Mbangwa and Harsha Bhogle. Harsha, I know it's been done to death, talked about often enough, but 1 and 2, it's all that it's about here.
It is, except that when you started off, saying A is going to play B and C is going to be watching and someone else. And I thought I was going back to college with one of my analytical reasoning questions. And then A crosses the road at this speed and B is going in the other direction. It's a bit like that. It is on paper, as you said, it's RR versus CSK. But the next couple of games, the teams that are not playing are going to be watching with as much interest as, have the same interest levels as the teams that are playing. Because, I mean, strictly speaking, there's no queue against Rajasthan's name. But as I said, you need to get a heat wave in Siberia for 6 months at a stretch. It's the probabilities are like that. So they're through. What about LSG? Rajasthan win, LSG finish third. Otherwise, it stays as it is. So that's what is at stake here. Really, nothing more.
Yeah, the big difference really between what's going to happen tomorrow, where we're not really talking elimination. That's that Delhi versus Bangalore battle. We'll talk about that later. But really, it's about Lucknow sitting back in their rooms, watching this game, thinking, come on, Chennai, do us a favor. Let's finish in the top two. The two new franchises, 1 and 2.
That's what they'll hope. I think it's so fabulous, the fact that this is the way it goes. And by that, I mean that playoff tree and, whenever it was that this was changed to make it so that the round robin stage counts for something. I think that's a really good thing. And so you get to this stage of the tournament and there are still those two places to play for. So that's really, really good. And Lucknow Super Giants, well, they'll hope that they'll be the one to be out there. It'll be quite a fairy tale, if I can put it like that, actually, if it is the two new franchises that end up at the top and they get to have one of them certainly in the final. And if not, you might still get one of those in the final. But I tell you what, Rajasthan Royals will want to have something to say about that because it is that important.
Yeah, I mean, just let's put it in perspective. I know most of you are now well educated in this new system. Delhi are the one franchise who'll think back many years ago when they were the best team in the league stage, and suddenly it all came unstuck in one semi-final, and hence after that the change has happened. So quickly, to sum it up, Gujarat, who are absolutely on top, one plays two. The winner goes straight to the final in Ahmedabad and waits. The loser of that meets the winner of 3 and 4, which is game number 2 on Saturday. And they clash in one more semi-final type clash to meet Gujarat or whoever it is who wins that 1 and 2 battle in the final. So it's simple enough. It can sound complicated. But Harsha, Chennai also have a role to play for themselves. It's not that they're complete pushovers and they're just going to be thinking, look, the tournament's over for us. Plenty to play for them, be it pride, be it finishing over Mumbai. They could even possibly finish over Hyderabad.
It doesn't matter, really. They want to win this game. I mean, we use the word pride very loosely as if to say on other days there is no pride except when all is lost and they still have to play a game. At that level, this is MS Dhoni, captain of India. He's playing. He doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to lose a game. There's some very proud players in that side. They don't want to lose games. So irrespective of what it means to Lucknow, they will want to play to win for themselves. It comes to that decision tree almost that you put, that probability tree. I'm just trying to think, Gautam, there's a teenager who would not relate to what you just said because the IPL has actually been around for long enough now. That happened in 2009 when Gilchrist knocked Delhi out in South Africa. So anyway, just to come back, I think there's a lot of players there. There's players like Raidu, for example. Raidu's in a half announced his retirement or in an emotional moment. He wants to check out whether he's good enough to play another year. So there's options. There's reasons for everybody to do well. CSK will be out there fighting. I mean, CSK's fan base is wow. Plus the other aspect, because everybody has been kept on tenterhooks once again by MS Dhoni. I mean, some people walk a tightrope, some people sit back and make other people walk a tightrope. Their emotions. I think MS is like that.
Well, one thing's for sure, he had a very long conversation with Ian Bishop at the toss. One of the things we got out of it is he ain't going nowhere yet. So you're going to see MS Dhoni, particularly because remember it's been a slightly different kind of a tournament this year, not going overseas, but all restricted to one state. Hopefully, things should be back next year to home and away fixtures. And as MS said, the crowds in Chepauk deserve to see home games there, and he'd love to be part of that. Also, the other name Harsha mentioned, Ambati Raidu, well, may not have been playing the last game, but he's back for this one. That's why the little change. Chennai have won the toss. They will bat first, and this is the change they have made. Shivam Dubey goes out. Ambati Tirupati Raidu comes back in. And, I think it's good for someone like him who has really performed. And especially with all that chatter about the tweet, Pommie, good to have him playing the last game.
Yeah, all that tweet will have done with the retirement withdrawn, rescinded, whatever you want to say, is it now puts him on trial effectively. That's what it does. It puts a bit more pressure on him because if the reaction, as we hear via the grapevine, was to being dropped and didn't want that to happen and felt that, well, if you're now going to start dropping me, then I'm gone, so I should be playing just about all the time. Now play. Can you show us how you play, please? And not that it needs to be on trial. It's just sometimes it's peripheral things that bring the pressure to a guy. That he can handle it? Yeah, of course he can handle it. They haven't had the greatest of seasons, but it would be better for him. It would be nice for him if he can put a score on the board here, just to say, I'm still here, I'm still good enough, and I can still show you what I can do. It'll kind of move the Wolves away from the door a bit. Not that they were there, he saw them, right? Perhaps they weren't there at all, but he saw these Wolves, and in order for him to move them from the door, he's got to be the one who performs.
Harsha, you've always been a fan of Ambati Raidu. You've followed him closely. What was your first reaction? I know you loosely used the word huff a few moments ago. Huff, emotion, call it what you like. What do you make of that particular incident, if you can call it that?
I think emotion more than huff. If I had a choice, if I was writing an article, I would delete huff and put emotion. But here words, as my mother said, are like arrows. Once they've left, they don't come back. I think he's a very emotional person and a little short fuse. I don't know whether it was, if you don't pick me, I don't play, which could be. Or it could be, I'm not playing well enough and you're going to leave me out. So what's the point staying on over here? I mean, I remember he did that in 2019 as well. He's always flirted with that. But I think what's good for him is that the franchise has said, no, you're playing with us again. So that means he is there because, I mean, CSK never allows anyone to go. So he's there next year. The question is, how much cricket is he going to play from now on to be able to come back next year and be a contributor?
He's important as well, I think. When you look at that side and you look at it as a batting side, so often we look at a Chennai side and we try and find what is a core of the side. So Gaikwad's going to be a wonderful player for them. He's already a wonderful player to watch. And in a couple of seasons, 2.5 or nearly 3, he's done decently for Chennai, scoring lots of runs. Devon Conway has shown his aptitude. He's just a quality cricketer. And he's translated that and brought it to Chennai, even though they've failed and haven't had a good season. Moeen Ali, good player, and also is required. So in their recruitment, I don't think batting-wise things are a problem. And Raidu, as a local batter, as one of the local Indian batters who can be relied upon, I think is important, because walking in for that spot at 4 kind of unlocks things and sorts things out, whether you're trying to adjust to power play, you're 2 down for nothing, or you're coming to try and finish things off and you're trying to give impetus and get to that 170, 180, maybe 190, 200 when the team set a platform. He's been able to do that over the years and knows all about the platform, the pressure, and so forth. So they do need him to be there. Yes, you can replace him, but he goes with all of his experience, and you don't want that.
Well, let's give you one more reminder about what happened at the toss. MSD won the toss and had no hesitation in deciding to bat first. Whether or not there'll be ramifications for the opposition and what they do, we'll come to that in a moment. But I think the talking point always, Harsha, was going to be MS Dhoni at the toss. Were we going to get anything out of him? We got a little bit out of him. Chepak will see him walking out as captain.
I think there was a lot of discussion last year. I'm not sure there was as much this year because I think it was pretty clear he was going to play on one more year. I'm actually going to throw this out there. I think MS Dhoni circa 22 has been a better player than MS Dhoni circa 20 and 21. And 20 was so soon after the IPL after the World Cup of 2019, where he's a proper India middle order batsman. So you would have thought 20 would be his best year. But actually in 22, coming in and playing, trying to finish as hard as he can, and almost taking himself out of the responsibility of batsmanship has actually worked, I think. And he might come back to being a 10, 12, 15 ball batsman again in his next avatar. So it didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me that he's going to come back next year, except that the next IPL is not 6 months away. It's 10 months away. So he's got to stay fit. So far he's fit. So far he's still running hard between wickets. The keeping, we're still noticing if something goes wrong. That means he's keeping well. So it's largely okay. I think he's been better this year.
Well, we'll call it the summer of 42 then when MS Dhoni comes back in 10 months' time. But Pommie, every time you talk about Dhoni, the player, really the fact that he's that competent behind the stumps means every time you judge MS Dhoni is, in a sense, and I use that word loosely, you're purely talking about where he is as a batsman.
Yeah, so I don't know that that's correct, actually. And the reason I say that is because when we talk about MS Dhoni, I think the first part is that he's this cool and calm and experienced head. That's the first part. He's this figurehead for CSK that almost everything else is kind of taken for granted. There is something about his being the leader that says everything's okay, even when it's not. So here they are, having had what is a horrid season. For their standards, they don't miss out on playoffs. They generally don't. Here they are. I think they're going to miss out, for a second time in all the tournaments that they've participated in. And yet, when that shift happened, which wasn't great, you don't want that to happen to a side, and it comes back to the helm, without hearing it, you sort of just about feel it all around you that there's this calmness to the sea of yellow, right? And not necessarily to the players. I'm talking about the fans, the people who are watching him and who want to watch him. There's suddenly this, all is okay in, the Chennai camp because he's back, because he's leading them. Then it comes to the standards he set as a player, as a finisher, and as a keeper, right? And also as a director of traffic on the field. Miss nothing, kind of just stay calm and choose the right guys. There's such a package when it comes to him. And that's why it's that difficult to replace. Whoever it is who takes over, you're going to struggle because it's going to take you some time to get into just the captaincy. Never mind focusing on that and whatever your job is in the team.
All right, so let's not leave it at that. Pommie's used the word whoever. Harsha, can you pick it up from there and change that into an actual name? Because the Jadeja planning obviously started the previous season, didn't work. Now they're going to be 10 months of planning for a new name.
The big thing is Jadeja going to come back to Chennai Super Kings? Because he couldn't have been happy at the way things transpired. So are you giving him time for his wounds to heal and then to come back? They will never let him go. But I think it's pretty apparent that the next year, and we've been saying this before, I know, but next year definitely will be a gentle handing over of the baton. And over the next 10 months, watch out for the form of an opening batsman. And if that opening batsman is in good form going into IPL 23, and he's doing well, you will see a small, gentle passing of the baton to the opening batsman. I'm not saying Devon Conway.
Yeah. The other thing that I think presents difficulty is the shadow of MSD. Not because he wants to present the difficulty. It was quite interesting talking to him and him saying of the captaincy that, look, I don't want to be the guy to decide once you hand over. The guy's got to do the decision making and he's got to run it as his team. But I think that's very difficult whilst he's still there and in the team. And I think it's always going to be difficult. You might look at it and say, yes, you'll be able to go and ask him for advice. Of course you can. But there's just this looming shadow. It's a good shadow. But where you're being asked to, right, be yourself, and Big Brother is here, and he's always been your big brother, you're going to ask him. Of course you're going to ask him. And of course you're going to look to him. And of course everybody else is going to look to him because he's still there. So I think that's the difficulty that it all presents. And perhaps after he actually moves on, then there can be I'm sitting on the side, guys, I can't do anything for you. Here's your man, whoever that man is, even if it is a certain stylish batsman that Harsha is talking about.
Look, he's the patriarch. Dhoni is the patriarch. It wasn't like at RCB where Kohli was around, but Kohli was not the patriarch. And what did RCB do? They went to a senior, respected captain, and the transition was the smoothest you could ever have asked for at RCB, and everyone is happy with that transition. In Chennai, the transition was always going to be more difficult, and that is why I said for Dhoni to give up the captaincy, he had to abdicate. He couldn't stay on. So I think that will happen over the course of next year. And I'm telling you now, I think 23 will be his last year. And if Ruturaj Gaikwad keeps form, then Ruturaj Gaikwad is probably the apprentice over the next IPL and captain thereafter.
Unless someone pops up, who knows, eh?
Fair point.
Great.
We'll see. I don't know, Harsha, if you were there. The last time we had this Dhoni discussion, Pommie might have been on the show. We likened it to Manchester United trying to appoint a new manager with Sir Alex sitting in that changing room.
Why do you do this to me?
Yeah.
I don't know why you do this to me. Like,
Okay.
He's not worried about Dhoni. He's only worried about PP. And that's not on the Cricbuzz Hindi show. He's worried about the other PP. He's worried about all those 10 Hags and 20 and Paul Pogba. And is he going to stay on? Was that not a perfect analogy, Pommie?
Oh, well, I tell
you what. Of the Dhoni shadow.
I had thought of you as a different person. It was violent as an analogy. Come on, my heart beats enough already. You're making my heart beat violently.
I
will accept that. Fair enough. There is similarity. Yeah.
All right. That's so basically the real
only other example.
The fact that he's still present. Yeah.
The only other example you could have given, which we talked about on one of the programs, was Elon Musk suddenly saying, I'm stepping aside and a product manager is running Tesla. Except that if Elon Musk said that, then a week later he would find reasons for changing his mind and for not saying something and getting into a public battle. Can you imagine Dhoni as Musk getting into a public battle with the next guy saying, show me the valuation? Anyway, let it go.
Imagine, here we are. We started the show by telling all of you that this match matters less to Chennai and more to Rajasthan because they need to play for a number 2 spot. Lucknow will be watching this, and we've spent 21 minutes talking about Chennai, and now we're going to talk about Rajasthan. But such is the reality. Such is the shadow of MSD that we couldn't get over it. Now we've put the shadow aside. Let's talk about the men in pink. Yes, of course. This is, they will be chasing today. The expected change, Jimmy Neesham out. Shimron Hetmeyer in. He's back. He was in the huddle, Harsha, sitting down, giving everybody a little bit of a pep talk, probably talking about what it means to be a new father.
He is one of the most one of the least talked about players. I was going to use the word underrated. I don't think in the playing community he's underrated, but he doesn't get talked about as much. What he has done for Rajasthan Royals this year has been incredible. And I think he's a champion cricketer. And just because he's got this nice toothy grin and he seems to be, he doesn't carry that air of gravitas. What he's done for Rajasthan Royals is fantastic. I mean, he's a champion player.
Yeah, he will make a difference. With Butler, maybe I wouldn't say going off the boil, Pommie, but with Butler not scoring hundreds for fun. Okay, fair enough. Off the boil. Shimron's presence, Hetmeyer's presence, even more important for them to chase the total down here.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting actually. So as you go back in the tournament and you go to Butler on the boil, and Butler absolutely whacking everybody and couldn't put a foot wrong and can't not get a run. Still, there was contribution from Hetmeyer. And despite, and I suppose this kind of speaks a little bit to what Harsha is saying, that here's a guy who's getting hundreds, and because he's getting hundreds, so big is his achievement, and so well he is played that nobody else really gets looked at or talked about. But in those scores that they kept getting, the significant contribution from Shimron Hetmeyer, we needed to kind of speak about that a little bit more. Also, his absence showed us a little bit, right? That, hold on, if we analyze how these guys have gone without him and what it is he brings, they miss a lot. And it's a lot in a short space of time. And this game, 2020 cricket, is about impact. It really is. And he has an impact, number one, boundaries, and 6 counts at the back end of an innings where you bump your score up from 130, you get 150. From 150, you get 170. From 170, you could get to 190. So that's the job that he has played, and play to absolute perfection, and probably better than anybody else in the tournament. If we look around, the only other person I'm sort of looking at and thinking, has there been regularity with this person in doing so, is probably in another side, which has ailed and is now out the tournament, and that's Andre Russell. So, yeah, I might be wrong statistically there, but in my mind, certainly that's who comes up as the next man. But he hasn't really got his side to win despite those things, whereas Shimron Hetmeyer has managed to get the Rajasthan Royals to win.
Maybe a Dinesh Karthik I'll throw in there.
As well, yes, as well.
But yeah, Hetmeyer important. Harsha also, just very briefly, yes, his batting, the 4s, the 6s, but he's just got a presence about him. There was one particular match I remember where he had done really well with the bat. I think Butler had got 100. And in the fielding 20 overs, the ball seemed to be following him. He just has a presence on the field.
Look, I'll tell you, if an opener is giving you 650 runs a season and Butler's not done for the season yet, anything above 600, you've got a wow player in your side. So if Butler's giving you 650, what does a support cast need to do? Can one other player give you 400, 420 runs? Has Sanju Samson done that? If you've got a finisher at 5 and 6, then you're not expecting 400, 450 from him. So if Hetmeyer batting in that role gives you 300, 320 runs a season, or if he gives you 350, that's fantastic. At his strike rate, then you've got so many bases covered. And I think because, as Pommie said, Butler's given you 650, even if he's only made 150 in his last 6. But the start that they got, it's not allowed us to look at Sanju Samson and Shimron Hetmeyer. And in the last 2 or 3 games, Devdutt Padikkal. But Sanju Samson's had a good season, So has Hetmeyer. So actually, the shadow of Butler has not allowed us to look at these people. But if you've got a 650-run player, the role of the other person's becomes so much easier.
And here I thought we were done with shadows with MS Dhoni. So Butler's runs have cast the kind of shadow that MS Dhoni's aura casts over the men in yellow.
Listen, if you're talking about shadows and auras, there's a little aura around Pommie today. Just around, just the light will be coming up from around, there it is. There is the Pommie aura.
Lovely. We love that. What about all of you? You're getting your questions in, contributing, asking, answering. Come on, what's the question that we have on hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. Hitesh Rajani says, oh, well, very simple, short question. Have we seen the last of Ravindra Jadeja in yellow? I think we briefly sort of touched upon it, Harsha, but if you have to ask it as a pointed question, the answer is probably no.
Pommie?
Yeah, I would say no. I don't think so at all, actually. I think there's been difficulty, but difficulty is what makes people stronger. You go away, you reflect. Ravindra Jadeja is a fantastic cricketer. We can't let just a little blip in the road say, right, that's him, he's done, he's gone. No chance. I don't think so at all. I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back with a bang. I think he will be back and contributing in all three facets of the game: fielding, batting, bowling. Yeah, so he makes that CSK side better. He makes any side that he is in better. So no chance. It's not the last we've seen of him. He'll be back and back big time.
I think it's more than Jadeja the player. Jadeja the player is a very, very big part of it. It is what Jadeja is thinking about this. Because one thing is very clear, Jadeja is not going to be captain of CSK again. So is he trying to tell himself, look, I'm now 33. Can I just not worry about everything else and play the next 5 years just being myself? And wow, suppose a Gaikwad becomes a captain, suppose somebody else becomes a captain, does it hurt me? Do I have those ambitions? Rishabh Pant had captaincy ambitions. Does Jadeja have captaincy ambitions still? If he does, then that return will be a little tricky. Otherwise, if he says, chalo nikal gaya yaar, sir se ab enjoy karo, then he'll be fine.
I suspect, just observing from a distance, Harsha, it's probably the latter. Far from ambitions, I think he just comes across as the kind of person who'd like to contribute with bat, with ball, with his celebrations, but not going out to have these difficult discussions at the toss, with no disrespect to either one of you. He doesn't seem to enjoy it.
No, disrespect only to one person, because I don't do tosses, Pommie does.
Oh, you wiggled out of that quickly.
Well, you might have the post match then, Harsha. It's still a tough one if you lose the game as a captain.
They didn't win enough for him to come to the post match more often. Anyway.
Yeah, and the winning started under MS Dhoni, and he, of course, knows exactly what to do when it comes to those conversations. But another person who knows what he's doing, particularly when he's in quiz mode, is Joy Bhattacharya. Sometimes he's given us a few half volleys this season. Let's see what he has in store for us tonight. Joy factor question for this Friday night. If AB de Villiers, Jacques Rudolph, Neil Wagner and Kruger von Wijk were the first four, which player in this tournament was the fifth? ABD, Rudolph, Wagner, von Wijk. Interesting one there. I think I probably know which way it's heading, but I'm not giving any hints. All of you, hashtag Cricbuzz Live, get the answers back quickly as possible so we can publish your name at the end of the day. Of course, lots more to look forward to on Cricbuzz Plus. We do have Retro Reels, brand new episode. It's out there. Get in there, get back in time, and see what Joy has lined up in terms of this year's Retro Reels. Don't think it's only cricket. It could be related to just about anything, not even necessarily sport. So much to look forward to. Before we wrap on the show, it's our tradition, our numerical tradition. Harsha, would you like to go first?
I would like to trust Hedos's pitch report. And he said loads of runs. And he said, you've got to make 180, 190. I don't know if they have it in them to go if they don't get a good start. So I'm going about 176.
I shall have to take 184.
184. Rajasthan, very keen. Good bowling lineup. I know the pitch report. Going lower, 169, 169. Possibly something in the target area of Rajasthan. Lucknow are watching this very keenly. Who's going to finish at number 2? That's the big answer we're going to get by tonight. But for now, it'll just be a few questions being asked by the Rajasthan bowlers. We'll see you all in the 10th over. Cricbuzz Combox for now from Harsha, Pommie and myself. It's all on Cricbuzz Live.